Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I will be showing you how I made this shoulder dart one shoulder bustier. If you're interested, please keep on watching. So here I have my fabric folded into two using my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 5 inches, and then the shoulder measurement to the half length. So the half length I'm working with is 16 and a half, so I have 17 and a half here. The 1 inch extra is for allowance. So here I'm marking the shoulder to nipple and the shoulder to the under bust all across. I will connect those with a straight line like so. So next I'm marking the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus extra half inch. So I'm going to mark it all the way down from the shoulder to nipple point and connect with a straight line. So next up, on that line on the under bust, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches outward like so. The same thing on the down part, and I will connect, then make a curve like so. So on this upper part, I'm marking half of the shoulder measurement. The shoulder I'm working with is 14, half of that is 7. So I marked the 7 inches there. So on that point, the 7 inches point, I'm going to come in by 1 inch. Then from that 1 inch point, I'll mark half inch again. Then I connect all 3 lines to the bust point. So later on, we're going to cut the neckline and the armhole, but that is after we have joined the dart. So now I'm notching the upper part. Make a notch at the center point there will indicate the upper part later on. So next up, I'm cutting. So that's it for the front. So we're going to set that aside now and move over to the back. So for the back, I have pretty much the same thing. My fabric unfold using the same bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 5 inches, and then my shoulder to under half length plus 1 inch of allowance. So here I'm marking 1.5, which will serve as the zipper allowance. So I mark it all the way down and I connect with a straight ruler. So next up, from that zipper line, I mark half of the shoulder measurement, which is 7. I come down, I mark the same thing, then I connect with the straight line, like so, and then I'll make a curve. So here I'm marking 3 inches from that zip line, and then I'm coming down by half inch from the armhole line, and then I connect with a slant to form the shoulder slope. Next up, I'm marking the neck, which is 2 inches deep and 4 inches wide. This is optional at the moment. You can leave it. I just need it for a guide. Do I really need it? You don't need it, but I just marked it for now. So down here, I'm marking the dart point, which is the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus extra half. I'm going to make a notch there now. We'll be using that later. So I cut. I'm also opening the back piece into 2, like so. So next up, I've ironed my wadding on the lining pieces and the main fabric pieces. So I have a video on how to part a princess dart. I will link it down below. It's pretty much the same thing. So next I'll go join the pieces together, starting from the bottom part. I'll pin right sides together. I'll go and sew, and then I will do the same thing for the lining. Then for the back, I will mark the dart, starting with the main piece. So from the shoulder down, I came down by 9 inches, and then I marked the dart point, which is the nipple to nipple divided by 2, and then I connect that notch I made earlier. So turning to the other side, I'm going to mark the zip allowance again, which is 1.5, and then I come down by 9 inches from the shoulder, and then I mark the dart, which is 4.5, and then I connect that notch on the down part. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the lining piece. So here I'm also marking the 1.5 for the zipper allowance. And then I'm coming down by 9 inches from the shoulder. And then I'm marking the nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus ½ inch. And then I'm connecting it to that notch. I transferred the notch from the main fabric to the lining piece. So over to this side, I'm going to repeat the same thing. So next up, I've sewn the darts. I've also joined the front pieces, and I have ironed all of them nicely. Here they are, both front and back. So next up, after joining the front pieces together, I had a bit of excess on the top part. So I'm trimming that off, as you can see. Don't worry, nothing will spoil. I trim that off. I'll do the same for the lining. I had the excess on the lining as well. And if you followed exactly what I've been showing you, you will have excess too. So trim it off. So next I'm marking the shoulder measurement divided by 2 here, and then I'm marking 3 inches from the center point there. I'm coming down by ½ inch from that shoulder line, and I'm connecting with a slant. That's for the shoulder slope. I'm marking the neck depth, which is 5 inches, and then the neck width of 4 inches, and then I'm connecting with a curve. Then I'm going to mark the armhole. I used 8 inches here. Come down by 8 inches, and then I curve it out. So if you're making a shoulder dart bustier, you just cut out your neck and your armhole, and then proceed to join to the back, and that will be it. But since we are making a one shoulder bustier, so one shoulder is off, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. Although I shouldn't have, but yeah. So I marked the same thing, the shoulder slope, the neck round and neck length, and then the armhole. Like everything I did on that side, I turned over and I did the same thing. So after which, I'm opening it up to curve the other part that is going to be off. So we're going to maintain that 5 inches neck depth, and then connect it all the way to the armhole on one side, as you can see. So that's 5 inches from the shoulder. You can do less than that, or you can do even more, but I think this was the safe point for me. So I'm placing it on the back, right sides together, and I'm going to mark where the cutout is going to be and the side, so we don't go mark on opposite sides and have issues. So I folded it back into two, and I'm going to cut the armhole and the shoulder slant. I'm also cutting the shoulder slant, but not cutting the neckline. I'm going to open it up like so, and then follow that curve I made to the armhole and cut it out. This is your one shoulder coming out. I'm going to place that cutout on the back and trace it out. So this is why I said the marking the neckline on the back part was not necessary, because we are not going to use it anyway. So after tracing it out, I'm going to cut that out. So now you have both front and back the same. That's on the neckline. So next up, we're going to be cutting the lining pieces the same way. So I almost made a mistake, but I was able to I realized it on time and I corrected that. So I'm folding the front piece into two and then the lining into two as well. So I'm going to trace out the neckline, as you can see, and then I will cut out. So I'm going to place the right side of the lining on the right side of the right side of the main fabric, right sides together, and then I will trace out the neckline. So as I was saying, I almost made a mistake. That is why you could see the line there on the opposite side, so please ignore. So I place them right sides together and then I trace out the neckline and I will cut. So you need to be careful at this point. Make sure you place them right sides together. If not, you may trim on the opposite side and your lining will be pretty much useless. You have to start all over. So I do the same for the back. Place them right sides together and then trace out the neckline. So after that, we're going to join both the front and back pieces together. So here I have my back folded into two, like so. So I'm going to mark from that zip line. I'm marking quarter of the chest, the bust measurement there. Then I come down and I mark quarter of the waist measurement here. I'm connecting that with a straight ruler. Please note that I'm starting from the zip line, not all the way. So back here, I turn to this other side. From that zip line, I mark quarter of the bust measurement up there, and then down here I'm marking quarter of the waist measurement. I connect that with a straight line, then I open it up like so, and then I check again to be sure that I have half of the bust measurement at this point, half this time around, not quarter. That's your bust divided by 2. Then down here too, I check if I have half of the waist measurement, and if not, I adjust. Make sure I have half of that, and then I go on to pin the front piece onto the back. So notice how I arranged it. Is the front piece is sitting the way it should. The bust part is not pressed down. So I pin them together. I do the same thing for the lining pieces, and then I join on those lines. So after joining, I'm trimming the down part. So when you're pinning, you don't force things to go and meet things. You let it relax, allow it to guide you. So I have excess on the down part, which is the back piece. I trim that off, and then I'm reducing the seam allowances to about 2 inches. And then I'm adjusting the armhole area as well, making sure the front and the back armholes are at the same level. And I've also joined the one of the shoulder pieces. So I will go ahead and do the same thing on the lining, trim all the trimmables, and then iron the side seams down. So next up, I'm going to measure across the neckline like so, and then I added both the front and the back together, and then I subtracted around the shoulder, and then what I had left, I divided it by 2 and added 1 inch for allowance, and then I cut a strip that I am pinning here. So I have a video on how to cut an off the shoulder bustier where I explain this in detail. I will also link it down below. So while pinning, you come down by ½ inch from the top and pin it down. This is how it will look when you're done. I'm opening the zipper allowance, the back, for both the front and both the main fabric and the lining pieces. I'm going to pin them together and then sew the zip side, the neckline, and then this other armhole closed, and then the other zip line as well. You will see. So here is it. You go and sew like that, following the neckline like so. Push that strip inside, sew the armhole like that to this other side, and then the zip line all together. So after sewing, this is what it's looking like. I've already ironed it, and I've also folded the raw edges for this tiny piece in, and this is what we have. So next up, I'm going to measure from that dart point to the dart point on the back like so, and then I'm going to use that to cut a strip that is going to sit on the off shoulder part of the blouse. So I folded my fabric into 2, and then I placed whatever I got when I measured there, And then the length I marked 4.5 inches. So I'm going to connect it in like a triangle, like so. And then I'll be cutting 2 of that. I just fold into 2 like so. So I cut the 2 at once. So I'm going to go place them right sides together and then sew together on the down part like so, all the way. So after sewing, I will attach it on this piece. Just anyhow you want to attach it, just attach it in that angle. I think what I did, I ended up just top stitching it there. I folded the raw edges in and then I top stitched on that area like that. And that's it. I also went ahead to attach the circular sleeve on the armhole part, and then this is what this other side is looking like. You can go ahead to attach your flowers like we saw in the thumbnail, and I also have a video on how to make a full circle sleeve. I will link it down below as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.